Imagine a bright, sunny morning. The sky is blue, the birds are chirping, and people are rushing around at the airport. It's a busy day, and everyone's trying to get where they need to go. There's a plane called Flight 247, and it's getting ready to take off. People are walking up the steps, carrying their bags, and squeezing into the plane. Some are happy, some are tired, and some are just annoyed because there's not enough room for their legs. You know how it is when you're squished in a tiny seat, right? Everyone's bumping into each other, saying excuse me or oops, sorry, while they try to find their spots. Now, picture all these people, big ones, small ones, loud ones, quiet ones, shuffling down the skinny aisle of the plane. They're holding backpacks, suitcases, and even little snacks for the ride. Some are chatting about where they're going. I can't wait to see the beach, one kid says. I just want to sleep, grumbles a guy with a big hat. It's a normal day on a normal plane. Or at least, that's what everyone thinks. But something amazing is about to happen, and no one sees it coming. Not yet. Among all these people is a little old lady. Her name is Margaret Grayson, and she's 90 years old. Yep, 90. That's super old, right? She's tiny, like a little bird, and she's got silver hair that shines in the sunlight. It's tied up in a neat little bun on top of her head, like how your grandma might do her hair for a special day. She's wearing a soft blue coat and carrying a small purse, just big enough to hold a few things. Margaret moves slow, real slow. Her steps are little, and she holds onto the seats as she walks down the aisle. She's careful, like she doesn't want to fall or bump into anyone. Most people don't even look at her. They're too busy with their own stuff, finding their seats, shoving bags under chairs, or yelling at their kids to sit down. To them, Margaret is just another person on the plane. Maybe they think she's someone's sweet grandma, off to visit her family. Ah, look at that cute old lady, one mom whispers to her daughter. She's probably got candy in that purse, the little girl giggles. They smile and go back to their own business. Everyone else? They don't even notice her. She's like a shadow, quiet and small, blending into the crowd. But here's the thing, they're all wrong about Margaret. So wrong. She's not just some old lady with candy in her purse. Nope. Margaret has a secret. A big, huge, giant secret that's going to shake up this whole plane. It's the kind of secret that makes your eyes go wide and your mouth drop open. You know that feeling when you find out something amazing, like when your friend tells you they're secretly a superhero. That's what's coming. Margaret's secret is so big, it's going to turn this boring flight into something wild. But we can't tell you what it is yet. You've got to keep listening to find out. Let's set the scene a little more, okay? The plane is pretty big, with rows and rows of seats. There are windows on both sides, and the sun is shining through, making little squares of light on the floor. The seats are blue, kind of scratchy, and they smell like that weird plane smell, you know, a mix of coffee and old air. People are still getting settled. A guy with a big beard is trying to stuff his giant suitcase into the overhead bin, but it won't fit. Come on, he mutters, pushing harder. A lady with bright red lipstick is fixing her hair in a tiny mirror. A kid in a superhero shirt is kicking the seat in front of him, and his dad keeps saying, "Stop that, buddy, stop that." The flight attendants are walking around, helping people. They're wearing blue uniforms with shiny badges, and they've got big smiles like the kind you see on TV. "Welcome aboard," one of them says, her voice all cheery. "Find your seats quick, please," says another. They're busy, moving fast, making sure everything's ready for takeoff. The plane's engines start to hum, a low rumble that you can feel in your tummy. It's exciting, right? That moment when you know you're about to zoom up into the sky. Margaret finally gets to her seat. It's near the back, by a window. She likes the window because she can look out and see the clouds. She sits down real slow, holding onto the armrest so she doesn't wobble. Her purse goes on her lap, and she pats it gently, like it's her best friend. She looks out the window for a second, watching the workers outside load bags onto the plane. Her face is calm, but her eyes? Oh, her eyes are sharp. They're watching everything, like a hawk looking for its next snack. She might be old, but she's not sleepy or weak. Nope, Margaret's awake and ready for what, we don't know yet. The other passengers keep doing their thing. A teenage girl with headphones is scrolling on her phone, nodding to music. A man in a suit is typing fast on his laptop, muttering about emails, always emails. A little boy with a toy plane is making zooming noises, vroom, vroom. Everyone's in their own little world, and Margaret's just sitting there, quiet as a mouse. No one talks to her. No one asks if she needs help. They don't think she's important. To them, she's just an old lady, nothing special. Boy, are they in for a surprise. Let's zoom in on Margaret for a minute. She's got wrinkles on her face, like little lines that tell stories of all the years she's lived. Her hands are small and shaky, but they're steady when she holds her purse. Her coat is old-fashioned, with big buttons, and it's a little worn at the edges. She looks like someone who's been around a long time, someone who's seen a lot. But what has she seen? What does she know? That's the fun part. We're going to find out soon, and it's going to be awesome. Now, imagine you're on this plane. You're sitting a few rows ahead of Margaret, maybe munching on some pretzels or looking out your own window. You see her walk by, slow and steady, and you don't think much of it. Just another passenger, you say to yourself. Maybe you're excited for your trip, or maybe you're nervous about flying. Either way, you're not thinking about the little old lady in the blue coat. Why would you? She's not loud or flashy. She's not causing a scene. She's just there. But that's the trick, isn't it? Sometimes the quiet ones, the ones nobody notices, are the ones with the biggest stories. Margaret's not just here to fly somewhere. She's got a plan, a secret, something hiding under that calm face and silver hair. And when that secret comes out, oh man, it's going to be like a fireworks show on the 4th of July. Everyone on this plane is going to wish they'd paid attention to her from the start. Let's think about the other people for a second. There's a lady with a big hat, sipping water and fanning herself like she's too hot. There's a guy with glasses, reading a book about spaceships. There's a mom trying to keep her baby quiet, rocking it back and forth. They're all different, but they've got one thing in common: they don't see Margaret as anything special. They're too busy with their own lives. And that's okay, it makes what's coming even better. Because when Margaret's secret pops out, their faces are going to look so funny. Eyes wide, mouths open, like they just saw a ghost. The plane's almost ready to go now. The flight attendants are closing the bins, click click click, and telling everyone to buckle up. Seat belts on, please, one of them calls out. People start snapping their belts, and the plane gets a little quieter. Margaret buckles hers too, her shaky fingers working the little metal clip. She's careful, making sure it's tight. Then she sits back and looks out the window again. What's she thinking about? Is she nervous? Excited? Or maybe she's just waiting, like a cat waiting to pounce on a mouse. Here's a fun question for you to think about: have you ever been ignored? Like, maybe you're at school, and nobody listens to your great idea, or you're with your friends, and they talk over you. It stinks, right? Feeling like you don't matter? Well, Margaret knows that feeling. She's been ignored her whole life. Well, maybe not her whole life, but a lot of it. People look at her and think, oh, she's old, she's slow, she's nothing. They don't know she's got something up her sleeve. And soon, they're going to find out what happens when you mess with the wrong nobody. The engines get louder now. Rumble, rumble, roar. The plane starts to move, rolling down the runway. People settle into their seats, some gripping the armrests, some closing their eyes. The kid with the toy plane yells, "We're flying," and his dad shushes him. Margaret doesn't flinch. She's flown before lots of times, probably. She's not scared of this part. She's got bigger things on her mind. Bigger things to do. Outside, the world zooms by. The airport buildings get smaller, the cars look like toys, and then whoosh, the plane lifts off. Up, up, up into the sky. The sun shines bright through the windows, and the clouds are fluffy and white below. It's pretty, like a picture in a book. Everyone's on their way now, heading somewhere new. But for Margaret, this isn't just a trip. It's the start of something huge. So, here's where we leave you hanging for a bit. Margaret's on this plane, quiet and small, with her big secret tucked away. Nobody knows who she really is, not the passengers, not the flight attendants, not even the pilot. But soon, oh soon, they're going to find out. And when they do, this boring little flight is going to turn into something wild, something crazy, something you'll never forget. Stick around, because Margaret's about to show everyone what happens when you think someone's a nobody. You ready for the ride? Let's go. Okay, so the plane is up in the air now. The engines are humming, the clouds are floating by outside, and everyone's settling in for the ride. People are starting to relax a little, some are munching on snacks, others are flipping through magazines or staring out the windows. It's calm for a minute, like when you're at school and the teacher steps out of the room. But that calm? It's not going to last. Nope, not with Sarah around. Here comes Sarah, the flight attendant. She's young, maybe not much older than a big sister, with shiny blonde hair pulled back tight in a ponytail. She's loud, super loud, like she wants everyone to hear her all the time. She's wearing a blue uniform with a little badge that says Sarah in curly letters. And oh boy, does she think she's the boss. She walks down the aisle like she owns the whole plane, her shoes clicking on the floor, her head held high. She's barking orders left and right, telling people what to do like she's the queen of the sky. Move faster, she yells at a guy who's still standing, trying to fix his backpack. Sit down already, she snaps at a lady who's digging in her bag for her headphones. People jump a little when she talks, like they're scared to make her mad. Sarah's got that kind of voice, sharp and bossy, the kind that makes you sit up straight even if you don't want to. She's waving her arms, pointing at seats, telling everyone to hurry up and behave. It's like she thinks this plane is her kingdom, and all the passengers are her servants. Now, remember Margaret? That little old lady with the silver hair and the slow steps? She's sitting by the window, all quiet and small. She's already in her seat, her purse on her lap, just watching the clouds go by. She's not bothering anyone, not making a peep. But Sarah? Sarah doesn't like that Margaret's moving so slow. See, when Margaret was walking down the aisle earlier, she wasn't fast enough for Sarah. Her tiny steps and shaky hands took too long, and Sarah noticed. So, as Margaret shuffles to her spot, Sarah spots her. She stops in the middle of the aisle, puts her hands on her hips, and rolls her eyes so big you can see it from the back of the plane. Hurry up, lady, she snaps, her voice loud and mean. It's not a quiet whisper, no way. She says it so everyone can hear, like she wants the whole plane to know she's annoyed. People turn their heads a little, sneaking peeks. A kid with a red hat giggles, but his mom shushes him quick. Margaret doesn't say anything back. Not a word. She just keeps her head down, her silver bun shining under the plane's lights, and shuffles to her seat by the window. Margaret sits down, slow and careful, like she's afraid to break something. She pulls her coat tighter around her and sets her little purse on her lap. She's not mad, not yelling, not even looking at Sarah. She's just quiet, like a mouse hiding in a corner. You'd think that'd be the end of it, right? Margaret's in her seat, Sarah can move on, and everyone can chill out. But nope, Sarah isn't done. Not even close. Sarah stomps over to Margaret's row. Her shoes go thump 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 on the floor, loud enough to make you jump. She towers over Margaret, standing tall with her arms crossed. Margaret looks tiny next to her, like a little doll sitting there. Sarah's face is all scrunched up, like she just ate something sour. You need to put your bag up top, now, she says, her voice sharp like a whip cracking through the air. She points at the overhead bin, that little shelf above the seats where people stuff their bags. She's not asking nicely, she's telling, and she's telling loud. Margaret blinks up at her, those sharp eyes peeking out from under her wrinkles. She doesn't argue. She just nods a tiny bit and reaches for her purse. Her hands shake a little, she's 90, remember, and she tries to lift it. It's not a big purse, just a small one, light as a feather. But her fingers tremble, and she's moving slow, so slow. She's trying, though. She's really trying to do what Sarah says. The purse wobbles in her hands, and then oops, it slips. It falls right back onto her lap with a soft little thud. That's when Sarah loses it. Her face turns red, like a tomato about to burst. Oh, come on, she yells, throwing her hands up. She leans down, snatches the purse right out of Margaret's shaky hands, and tosses it up into the overhead bin like it's a basketball. It lands with a clunk, and Sarah slams the bin shut bang. But she's not done yet. Oh no, she's just getting started. She turns back to Margaret, her eyes all narrow and mean, and then smack, she slaps Margaret's hand away. Hard. Like she's swatting a fly that's buzzing around her face. The sound echoes through the plane. Smack. It's loud, sharp, like a clap in a quiet room. Margaret's hand jerks back, and she pulls it close to her chest, rubbing it with her other hand. Her face doesn't change much, she's still calm, still quiet, but her eyes? They flicker, just for a second, like a tiny spark lighting up in the dark. Everyone hears it. Everyone sees it. Gasps ripple through the plane, like little waves rolling across a pond. Oh, says a lady with a big hat, her hand flying to her mouth. What was that? Whispers a guy with glasses, peeking over his book. A kid in a superhero shirt, sitting a few rows up, turns around fast. Did she just hit her? He whispers to his dad, his eyes big as saucers. His dad nods, looking shocked, like he can't believe it either. People start murmuring, soft little voices buzzing all around. That's not okay, someone says. Who does she think she is? Says another. Sarah doesn't care. She smirks a nasty little smile, like she's proud of herself. She straightens up, brushes her hands together like she's wiping off dirt, and mutters, old people shouldn't fly if they can't keep up. She says it loud enough for Margaret to hear, loud enough for the people nearby to hear too. It's mean, so mean, and she doesn't even try to hide it. She turns away, flipping her ponytail, and starts walking back down the aisle like nothing happened. Like slapping an old lady's hand is just another day at work. The plane gets quiet again, but it's not a good quiet. It's the kind of quiet where everyone's thinking, whoa, what just happened? People sneak looks at Margaret, wondering if she's okay. The kid with the superhero shirt keeps staring, his mouth open. His dad pulls him back down into his seat, but even he keeps glancing back. The lady with the big hat shakes her head, whispering to the guy next to her. That was awful, she says. Poor little lady, he whispers back. They feel bad, you can tell, but nobody says anything to Sarah. Nobody wants to get in her way. Margaret just sits there. She's still rubbing her hand where Sarah slapped it. It's red now, a little pink mark on her wrinkly skin. She doesn't cry, doesn't yell, doesn't even look mad. She just stares out the window, watching the clouds. Her face is calm, like nothing happened, but her eyes, they're different. They're watching, waiting, like a cat that spotted a mouse. She's not scared of Sarah. She's not upset. She's something else, something nobody can figure out yet. Let's talk about Sarah for a minute. She's been a flight attendant for a while, not super long, but long enough to think she knows everything. She likes being in charge. She likes telling people what to do. Put your tray up. Turn off your phone. Sit down. She says it all day, every day, and she loves it. It makes her feel big, important, like she's the most powerful person on the plane. And most people listen to her, because she's loud and pushy and they don't want trouble. She's used to getting her way, always. But Margaret's not like most people. Sarah doesn't know that yet. She thinks Margaret's just some old lady, weak, slow, easy to boss around. She thinks she can yell and snap and even slap her hand, and Margaret won't do anything about it. Why would she? She's old. She's tiny. She's nothing. That's what Sarah thinks, anyway. She's so sure of herself, strutting around like she's untouchable. She doesn't see the danger. She doesn't see that she just poked a sleeping bear. The tension's building now. You can feel it, right? It's like when you're playing hide and seek, and you know someone's about to jump out and scare you. The air feels heavy, like something big is coming. The passengers are watching, waiting, wondering what's going to happen next. Will Margaret say something? Will Sarah keep being mean? What's going on with that quiet little old lady in the back? Sarah keeps walking down the aisle, bossing more people around. Buckle up, she snaps at a guy who's stretching his legs. No snacks yet, she barks at a kid reaching for a bag of chips. She's loud, she's rude, and she's not slowing down. Every time she talks, people flinch a little. She's like a storm cloud rolling through the plane, making everyone nervous. But Margaret's the opposite. She's still, silent, like the calm before the storm. Let's zoom in on Margaret again. She's sitting there, her hands in her lap now. The red mark on her hand is fading, but it's still there if you look close. Her purse is up in the bin, thanks to Sarah's rough toss. She doesn't seem worried about it, though. She's not fidgeting or frowning. She's just, there. Watching. Her silver hair catches the light, and her blue coat looks soft and warm. She's so small, so quiet, you'd never guess she's anything special. But she is. Oh, she is. The other passengers are starting to settle down again. The kid with the superhero shirt stops whispering and starts playing with his toy plane, zooming it through the air. The lady with the big hat pulls out a magazine and flips the pages. The guy with glasses goes back to his book, pushing his nose closer to the words. They're trying to forget what happened, trying to act like everything's normal. But it's not normal. Not anymore. Sarah's voice cuts through the quiet every few minutes. Keep your feet off the seats, she yells at someone. No, you can't switch spots, she tells another. She's everywhere, bossing, snapping, making sure everyone knows she's in charge. And every time she walks by Margaret's row, she doesn't even look at her. To Sarah, Margaret's done-handled, out of the way. She thinks she won that little fight. She thinks she's the big winner. But here's the thing Sarah doesn't know, she just picked a fight with someone way out of her league. Margaret's not just some old lady. She's not weak or helpless or scared. She's got something hidden, something big, something that's going to turn this whole plane upside down. Sarah's smirking and strutting now, but she won't be for long. Because Margaret? She's not done. Not even close. The plane keeps flying, high above the clouds. The engines hum, the seats creak, and the tension grows. It's like a rubber band stretching tighter and tighter, ready to snap. Sarah keeps being mean, Margaret keeps being quiet, and the passengers keep watching. Something's coming. Something huge. And when it hits, Sarah's going to wish she'd never said a word to that little old lady with the silver hair. The plane is flying high now, zooming through the sky like a big metal bird. The engines hum a low, steady sound rumble, 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 and the clouds outside the windows look like fluffy white pillows. Everyone's buckled in, and the flight is underway. It's been a few minutes since Sarah, the mean flight attendant, slapped Margaret's hand, and things are starting to settle down. Well, sort of. The passengers are quiet, but there's a weird feeling in the air like when you know a storm's coming, even if the sun's still out. Margaret, that little old lady with the silver hair, is sitting by her window. She's super quiet, like a mouse hiding in a corner. Her hands are in her lap, and she's rubbing the spot where Sarah hit her. It's still a little red, that mark on her wrinkly skin, but it's fading now. She doesn't look mad or sad or scared. Her face is calm, like a still pond with no ripples. But her eyes? Oh, her eyes are different. They're sharp, like a hawk watching for its next meal. She's not just sitting there daydreaming, she's watching everything. Listening to every sound. She's awake, alert, and ready for something. Sarah's still stomping around the plane, acting like she's the boss of everyone. She's loud, her voice cutting through the hum of the engines like a whistle at recess. Put your tray up, she barks at a kid who's coloring on his little table. No drinks yet, she snaps at a lady reaching for her water bottle. She's tossing rude words left and right, not caring who hears her. Every time she talks, she snaps her fingers, snap, 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 like she's trying to hurry everyone up. And when she's not snapping, she's rolling her eyes so big you can see it from the back of the plane. She's annoyed, and she wants everyone to know it. Margaret sees it all. Every mean word, every finger snap, every eye roll, she's taking it in. She doesn't move much, just sits there with her hands in her lap, but her eyes follow Sarah like a shadow. She's watching the way Sarah talks to people, the way she struts down the aisle with her ponytail bouncing. Margaret's not missing a thing. It's like she's collecting all these little moments in her head, saving them up for something. But what? We don't know yet, and that's what makes it so exciting. The passengers are starting to get fed up with Sarah. You can tell by the way they look at her, their faces all scrunched up like they just ate a sour candy. A guy in a fancy suit, sitting a few rows ahead of Margaret, decides he's had enough. He's got a tie and shiny shoes, and he looks like someone important, like a teacher or a boss. He raises his hand, polite but firm, and says, "Excuse me, miss. Can you please stop being so rude? We're all just trying to enjoy the flight." Sarah spins around fast, her ponytail whipping through the air. She stares at the guy like he just spilled juice on her favorite shirt. "Sir," she says, her voice dripping with sass, "I don't make the rules, I just enforce them." She smirks, like she thinks she's so clever, and crosses her arms. The guy in the suit opens his mouth to say something else, but Sarah cuts him off with a loud, "Next time, follow the rules, and we won't have a problem." Then she turns and stomps away, leaving him sitting there with his mouth hanging open. The other passengers see this, and they're not happy. The lady with the big hat shakes her head and whispers to the guy next to her, "She's so mean." The kid with the superhero shirt giggles a little, but his dad hushes him quick. "Don't make her mad," he says, glancing at Sarah like she's a monster from a movie. Everyone's annoyed, but nobody dares challenge her. Sarah's too loud, too bossy, too scary. They just sit there, grumbling under their breath, hoping she'll leave them alone. But Margaret? She's not grumbling. She's not scared. She's still watching, still listening. Every time Sarah snaps at someone, Margaret's eyes flicker a little, like she's adding it to a list in her head. She sees the guy in the suit try to stand up to Sarah, and she sees Sarah shut him down. She hears the rude words, the sassy tone, the way Sarah acts like she's better than everyone. Margaret's taking it all in, quiet as can be. It's like she's a detective, gathering clues, waiting for the right moment to solve the case. Then, something happens. Something small, but super interesting. Margaret shifts in her seat just a tiny bit and reaches into her coat pocket. Her shaky old hands pull out a little notebook. It's small, about the size of your hand, with a plain brown cover. It looks old, like something your grandma might keep recipes in. She holds it close, so nobody can see what's inside, and flips it open to a blank page. Then she pulls out a tiny pencil, short and stubby, the kind you get at mini golf, and starts scribbling something quick. What's she writing? That's the big question. Is it a shopping list? Like, milk, bread, cookies? Maybe it's a letter to her grandkids, telling them about her trip. Or maybe it's just doodles, little swirls, and stars to pass the time. Nope, 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 it's none of those things. It's something way bigger, way cooler, way more exciting. Whatever she's writing, it's important. It's got to do with Sarah, with this plane, with everything that's happening. It's something that's going to make Sarah wish she'd stayed home today, hiding under her blanket instead of bossing people around. Margaret scribbles fast, her pencil scratching across the page. She doesn't write much, just a few quick words, then snaps the notebook shut. She tucks it back into her pocket, smooth and sneaky, like she doesn't want anyone to notice. But if you were watching close, you'd see it. You'd see that little move, that tiny hint that something's up. She pats her pocket once, making sure the notebook's safe, and then goes back to looking out the window. Calm again. Quiet again. But now you know she's up to something. The plane keeps flying, and Sarah keeps being rude. She's walking up and down the aisle, picking on people like a bully on the playground. "No, you can't use the bathroom yet," she yells at a little girl who's squirming in her seat. "Keep your bag under the seat," she snaps at a guy with a backpack. She's everywhere, her voice bouncing off the walls, making everyone jump. The passengers are tired of it. You can see it in their faces, they're frowning, sighing, whispering to each other. "She's so mean," says the lady with the water bottle. "I wish she'd stop," mumbles the kid with the coloring book. But nobody does anything. They're too afraid of Sarah. She's loud, she's bossy, and she's got that uniform that makes her look official. They don't want to get in trouble, don't want her yelling at them next. So they just sit there, taking it, letting her run the show. It's like she's the queen, and they're all stuck bowing to her. The tension's building, it's like a balloon getting bigger and bigger, ready to pop. You can almost feel it in the air, heavy and tight. Margaret's still quiet, still watching. She sees the little girl squirm and hears Sarah yell. She sees the guy with the backpack shrink back into his seat. She hears every rude word, every snap of Sarah's fingers. Her sharp eyes don't miss a thing. And every time Sarah does something mean, Margaret's face stays calm, but her hands move a little like she's itching to do something. She's patient, though. Super patient. Like a cat waiting by a mouse hole, knowing the mouse will come out sooner or later. Let's talk about the passengers for a minute. There's the guy in the suit, still mad about Sarah shutting him down. He's tapping his foot now, looking out the window like he's trying to calm down. There's the lady with the big hat, flipping through her magazine but sneaking peeks at Sarah every few seconds. There's the kid with the superhero shirt, playing with his toy plane but keeping one eye on Margaret. He saw that slap earlier, and he's curious. They're all different, but they're all stuck dealing with Sarah. And they're all starting to wonder about that quiet old lady in the back. Sarah keeps going, oblivious to it all. She doesn't notice Margaret watching. She doesn't care about the passengers' whispers. She's too busy being loud, being bossy, being the queen of the plane. No talking so loud, she snaps at two friends chatting about their trip. Put that away, she barks at a lady knitting a scarf. She's on a roll, picking on everyone, thinking she's untouchable. She walks by Margaret's row again, not even glancing at her. To Sarah, Margaret's nothing, just an old lady she already handled. But that notebook? That little scribble? It's a clue. A tiny, sneaky clue that Margaret's not done. She's not just sitting there feeling sorry for herself. She's planning something, something big. What's in that notebook? Is it names? A list of all the mean things Sarah's done? Or maybe it's a secret code, something only Margaret understands. Whatever it is, it's trouble for Sarah. Big trouble. The plane hits a little bump, turbulence, they call it, and everyone grabs their seats. Whoa, says the kid with the toy plane, laughing. Hold on tight, says his dad, smiling a little. Sarah doesn't smile. She grabs the back of a seat and yells, "Stay calm, it's just a bump," like she's annoyed they're even reacting. Margaret doesn't flinch. She's flown before, lots of times. A little bump doesn't scare her. She's got bigger things on her mind. Days don't really turn into weeks on a flight, it's just a few hours, but it feels like forever with Sarah around. Every minute, she's doing something rude, something bossy. The passengers are counting the seconds, waiting for the plane to land so they can get away from her. But Margaret? She's not counting seconds. She's counting something else, every mean word, every snap, every smirk. She's keeping track, and that notebook proves it. The tension's thick now, like fog you can't see through. The passengers are mad, Sarah's mean, and Margaret's quiet, but not for long. That notebook's a hint, a little peek at what's coming. What's she up to? What's she planning? It's something that's going to shake this plane up, something that's going to make Sarah's smirk disappear fast. Stick around, because this old lady's got a surprise up her sleeve, and it's going to be awesome. The plane is buzzing along, high up in the sky, halfway through the flight. The clouds outside are big and fluffy, and the sun's shining bright through the little windows. Inside, it's not so calm. People are shifting in their seats, trying to get comfy, but Sarah, the loud, bossy flight attendant, is making it tough. She's strutting down the aisle again, her shoes clicking loud on the floor, her ponytail bouncing like she's in a parade. She's got that mean look on her face, the one that says she's ready to yell at anyone who gets in her way. Right now, she's barking at a mom with a crying baby. The mom's sitting near the middle of the plane, rocking her little one back and forth. The baby's face is all red, and it's wailing wah-ah, wah-ah, like it's super upset. The mom's trying her best, shushing and patting, but Sarah doesn't care. She stops right in front of them, hands on her hips, and snaps, "Can you make that kid quiet? Some of us are trying to work here." Her voice is loud, sharp, like a teacher yelling at a noisy class. The mom looks up, tired and embarrassed, and mumbles, "I'm sorry, I'm trying." But Sarah just rolls her eyes and mutters, "Try harder," before turning to strut away. That's when it happens. That's when everything changes. Margaret, the little old lady with the silver hair, stands up. She's been quiet this whole time, sitting by her window, watching everything. But now, she's done sitting. She moves slow, real slow, like she always does. Her hands push on the armrests, and her knees wobble a bit as she gets to her feet. She's tiny, so small next to the big seats, but there's something different about her now. She's not just shaky and old anymore. There's a strength in her you didn't expect, like a tree that looks weak but won't bend in the wind. The plane's noisy, Sarah yelling, the baby crying, people whispering, but Margaret's voice cuts through it all like a knife slicing bread. "Excuse me, young lady," she says, loud and clear. "I'd like a word." Her words aren't soft or shaky. They're strong, steady, like she's been waiting to say them this whole time. Everyone hears it. The mom with the baby stops rocking. The guy in the suit looks up from his papers. Even the kid with the superhero shirt turns around, his toy plane frozen in his hand. Sarah spins around fast, her ponytail whipping like a snake. She's ready to snap back, her mouth already opening to say something mean. "What now?" she starts, her voice all sassy and annoyed. She's got that smirk on her face, the one she's been wearing all day, like she thinks nobody can touch her. But then she sees Margaret standing there, and something stops her cold. It's Margaret's eyes, those sharp, hawk-like eyes. They're not calm anymore. They're blazing, like little fires, staring right into Sarah. Sarah's smirk wavers, just for a second, like she's not so sure anymore. Margaret takes a step forward. Her hands, the ones that were shaky before, are steady now. She's not trembling, not fumbling. She's solid, like a rock. She stands up straight, well, as straight as a 90-year-old can, and looks right at Sarah. The whole plane is watching, holding its breath. You can feel it, the air's thick, like before a big thunderstorm. Something huge is about to happen, and everyone knows it. "My name is Margaret Grayson," she says, her voice ringing out loud and clear. It's not a yell, but it's strong, like a bell chiming across a quiet town. "I'm the chairwoman of Sky High Airlines. And you, dear, just made the biggest mistake of your career." She says it slow, letting every word sink in. Chairwoman, that's the big boss, the top person who runs the whole airline. Not just this plane, but all the planes, all the people, everything. And she's been sitting there, quiet, this whole time. The plane goes dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Sarah's jaw drops, literally falls open like in a cartoon. Her eyes go wide, and her face turns pale, like she just saw a ghost. The guy in the suit gasps, a big O, popping out of his mouth. The lady with the big hat drops her magazine, and it flops onto the floor. The kid with the superhero shirt whispers, "Whoa," and his dad nods, too shocked to shush him. Even the baby stops crying, its little wails fading into hiccups, like it knows something giant just happened. The whole plane freezes, every eye on Margaret. Sarah stammers, trying to talk. "Why, you can't be serious," she says, her voice wobbly now. "You're just some old," but she doesn't finish. Margaret cuts her off, not with words, but with a look. Oh, that look. It's like ice and fire all at once, so strong it could freeze a campfire solid. Sarah's words die in her throat, and she takes a tiny step back, like she's scared to even breathe. Margaret doesn't wait. She reaches into her coat pocket slow and steady and pulls out a little phone. It's not fancy, just a plain one, but she holds it like it's a magic wand. She flips it open, presses a button, and puts it to her ear. "Captain," she says, her voice calm but firm, "land this plane at the next airport. We've got some changes to make." She doesn't yell, doesn't rush. She's in control, and everyone knows it. The phone clicks shut, and she tucks it back into her pocket, her sharp eyes never leaving Sarah. The passengers explode into whispers. "Did she just say captain?" asks the lady with the hat, her voice shaking. "She's the boss," gasps the guy with glasses, pushing his nose out of his book. "No way," says the kid with the toy plane, grinning like it's the coolest thing ever. The mom with the baby stares, her mouth open, rocking her little one without even thinking. They can't believe it, this tiny old lady, the one Sarah slapped and bossed around, is the big boss of the whole airline. Sarah's still standing there, frozen. Her hands are shaking now, and her smirk's gone poof, like smoke in the wind. "You can't do that," she says, but it's weak, like a kid whining. "You're lying. You're just some old lady." She's trying to sound tough, but her voice cracks, and her eyes dart around like she's looking for a way out. She's not the queen of the plane anymore, she's scared, and it shows. Margaret steps closer, her slow step steady as a drum beat. "Oh, I'm very serious," she says, her voice low but strong. And you're very done. That last word done hits like a hammer. Sarah flinches, like it physically pushed her back. Margaret's not yelling, not waving her arms. She doesn't need to. She's got power, real power, and it's shining out of her like the sun through the clouds. The plane's speakers crackle, and a man's voice comes on the captain. Folks, he says, sounding a little nervous, we're, making a change. We'll be landing at the next airport in about 20 minutes. Please stay seated. The speakers click off, and the whispers turn into a roar. She did it, says the guy in the suit, clapping his hands. She's really the boss, says the lady with the hat, laughing like she can't believe it. The kid with the superhero shirt cheers, awesome, and waves his toy plane in the air. Sarah's face goes from pale to red, like she's about to explode. This isn't fair, she yells, stomping her foot. I was just doing my job. But nobody's listening to her now. The passengers are buzzing, talking over each other, pointing at Margaret like she's a superhero. The mom with the baby smiles for the first time all flight, her tired eyes lighting up. Even the baby coos, like it's happy too. Margaret stands there, calm and steady. She doesn't smile, doesn't cheer. She just watches Sarah, her sharp eyes locked on her like a teacher staring down a naughty kid. She's not shaky old Margaret anymore, she's Margaret Grayson, chairwoman of Sky High Airlines, and she's taking charge. The uniform's gone, the quiet's gone. She's the boss, and everyone knows it now. Let's zoom in on Sarah for a second. She's a mess. Her ponytail's messy from all her spinning around, and her hands are clenched into fists. She's breathing fast, like she just ran a race, and her eyes are darting all over looking at Margaret, the passengers, the floor, anywhere but those blazing eyes staring back at her. She thought she was big, thought she could boss everyone around, thought Margaret was nothing. Now she's small, shrinking smaller every second, like a balloon losing air. The guy in the suit leans over to the lady with the hat. She's done for, he whispers, nodding at Sarah. Good, the lady whispers back, picking up her magazine with a grin. The kid with the toy plane keeps cheering, she's the boss. She's the boss, until his dad finally laughs and says, okay, buddy, we get it. The whole plane's alive now, buzzing with excitement, like a classroom when the bell rings early. Margaret doesn't say much more. She doesn't need to. She said what she had to say, and the captain's doing what she told him. She turns, slow and steady, and sits back down in her seat by the window. Her hands fold in her lap, and she looks out at the clouds again. Calm. Quiet. But different. Now everyone knows who she is, and they're watching her every move. Sarah tries one more time. You can't fire me, she yells, her voice high and squeaky. I'm good at my job. But it's too late. The passengers boo soft at first, then louder. Boo, says the kid with the superhero shirt, sticking out his tongue. Boo, says the lady with the hat, waving her magazine. Even the guy in the suit joins in, boo, like he's at a ball game. Sarah's face crumples, and she stomps to the front of the plane, muttering under her breath. The plane starts to dip a little, turning toward the next airport. The engines hum louder, and the clouds shift outside. Margaret's in control now, and Sarah's world is falling apart. That little old lady with the silver hair? She's not just some passenger. She's the boss, the big, giant boss, and Sarah's about to find out what happens when you mess with the wrong person. The tension's popping now, like a balloon finally bursting. The passengers are grinning, whispering, cheering. Sarah's shrinking, and Margaret's shining. It's the biggest surprise ever, and it's not over yet. What happens when they land? What's Margaret going to do next? Stick around, this is just the start of the fun. The plane's been flying high, but now it's time to come down. The captain's voice crackled over the speakers a little while ago, telling everyone they're landing soon. The engines hum a little louder, and the plane starts to tip, dipping toward the ground. Outside the windows, the clouds get closer, then disappear as the plane drops lower. You can see green fields and tiny houses below, getting bigger every second. The passengers are buzzing, some are excited, some are nervous, but everyone's ready for what's next. Margaret's big reveal just shook everything up, and now it's time to see what happens when the wheels hit the ground. The plane lands with a little bump thump, and rolls down the runway, slowing down fast. The seatbelt sign dings off, and people start moving, grabbing their bags, stretching their legs. But it's not a normal landing. Oh no, this is different. Chaos erupts, but not for Margaret. She's sitting by her window, calm as ever, her silver hair shining in the sunlight coming through the glass. Her hands are folded in her lap, and her sharp eyes are watching everything, just like always. She's not worried, not rushed. She's the boss, and she knows it. The plane stops, and the door up front swings open with a loud whoosh. That's when airport security storms on board. They're big guys in dark uniforms, with badges on their chests and serious faces. Their boots thump on the floor as they march down the aisle, straight for Sarah. She's standing near the front, her ponytail all messy now, her arms crossed like she's trying to look tough. But when she sees them coming, her face turns white like a piece of paper or a ghost in a spooky story. Her eyes go wide, and her mouth opens, but no words come out. She's scared, really scared, and everyone can see it. Sarah Miller, one of the security guys says, his voice deep and loud. She nods, just a tiny little jerk of her head, like she's too afraid to move much. You're coming with us, he says, and grabs her arm not hard, but firm, like he means business. The other guy steps in on her other side, and they start marching her off the plane. Her shoes drag a little, like she doesn't want to go, but she's got no choice. The passengers watch, their heads turning, their eyes following her every step. And then it happens, they cheer. It starts with the kid in the superhero shirt. He jumps up on his seat, waving his toy plane, and yells, "Yay!" She's gone. His dad laughs and pulls him down, but he's smiling too. Then the lady with the big hat claps her hands, clap, 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 and says, "Good riddance." The guy in the suit joins in, clapping loud and grinning like it's the best day ever. The mom with the baby bounces her little one and cheers, "Woohoo!" Even the baby giggles, like it's happy too. The whole plane turns into a big cheer party, everyone clapping and shouting for Margaret like she's a hero in a movie. Sarah hears it all as she's dragged away. She looks back, her face all red now, her eyes shiny like she might cry. "This isn't fair," she yells, but her voice is small and shaky, and nobody cares. The security guys don't stop, they march her right out the door, and she disappears down the steps. The passengers keep cheering, louder and louder, until the door shuts behind her with a big bang. She's gone, and everyone knows it. Margaret doesn't cheer. She doesn't clap or jump up. She just sits back down in her seat, slow and steady, like she's done this a million times. Her blue coat rustles a little as she settles in, and she looks out the window again. Her face is calm, like a quiet lake on a sunny day. She's not mad, not excited, just peaceful. She did what she had to do, and now it's over. Well, almost over. The crew, the other flight attendants and the co-pilot start scrambling. They've been hiding up front, watching everything, but now they're in a panic. The co-pilot runs down the aisle, his face all sweaty, his uniform wrinkled like he's been nervous this whole time. He stops at Margaret's row, out of breath, and says, "Ma'am, we had no idea. We're so sorry." He's sweating bullets, little drops rolling down his forehead, and his hands are shaking a bit. The other flight attendants peek out from behind him, their eyes big, like they're scared she's going to yell at them too. Margaret turns her head, slow and smooth, and looks at them. Her sharp eyes soften a little, just a tiny bit, and she smiles. It's a small smile, not big and loud, but warm, like a hug from your grandma. "That's the problem," she says, her voice soft but strong. "You should treat everyone like they matter." She doesn't yell, doesn't point fingers. She just says it, simple and clear, like it's the most obvious thing in the world. The co-pilot blinks, nods fast, and mumbles, "Yes, ma'am, you're right, we'll do better." Then he backs away, still sweating, and the crew scurries off to fix things. The passengers are still buzzing, talking over each other. "She's amazing," says the lady with the hat, fanning herself with her magazine. "I can't believe she's the boss," says the guy in the suit, shaking his head like it's a dream. The kid with the superhero shirt keeps waving his plane, saying, "She's cooler than Spider-Man." His dad laughs and nods, "Yeah, she sure is, buddy." The mom with the baby smiles at Margaret from across the aisle, and Margaret gives her a little nod back, Like they're friends now. The plane starts emptying out. People grab their bags, shuffle down the aisle, and head out the door. But they're not quiet about it, they're still talking about Margaret. "Did you see her tell Sarah off?" one guy says to his friend. "She was so calm, but so strong," says a lady with a backpack. They're all amazed, all smiling, all looking at Margaret like she's a star. And she's the hero of this flight, no question about it. Fast forward to the next day. The plane's landed, everyone's gone home, and the news is spreading fast. Sarah's fired, no second chances, no sorry, try again. She's out, done, finished. The airline Sky High Airlines puts out a big statement. It's on TV, on the internet, everywhere. Sky High stands for respect, it says, and we're sorry we let you down. They mean it too, not just words, but real stuff. They're making changes, big ones, because of Margaret. Sarah's not coming back, and they're making sure everyone knows why. Margaret doesn't gloat. She doesn't go on TV or brag about it. She's not that kind of person. She goes back to work, quiet and steady, like always. She's the chairwoman, the big boss, and she's got a job to do. She sits in her office, probably a fancy one with big windows, and makes sure every employee knows the rules. Be kind, or be gone, she tells them. It's simple, but it's strong, just like her. She doesn't want anyone else getting slapped or yelled at, not on her planes, not ever. She's fixing things, making them better, one step at a time. The passengers who watched it all? They'll never forget that day. Never, ever. They got on the plane thinking Margaret was a nobody, just a little old lady with shaky hands and a small purse. But she turned out to be the boss, the biggest boss of all, and she showed everyone what happens when you mess with the wrong person. They tell the story to their friends, their families, even their dogs. "You won't believe what happened on my flight," they say, eyes wide, hands waving. "This old lady took down a mean flight attendant like it was nothing." The guy in the suit? He's back at his office, telling his co-workers about it over lunch. "She just stood up and said, 'I'm the chairwoman,' and boom, Sarah was gone." The lady with the hat? She's at home, sipping tea, telling her neighbor, "I knew there was something special about her, but I never guessed that." The kid with the superhero shirt? He's running around the playground, yelling, "Margaret's my new favorite hero. She's tougher than Batman." His friends laugh and ask for the story again, because it's just that cool. The mom with the baby? She's rocking her little one to sleep, smiling as she remembers. "That lady helped us," she whispers to her baby. "She made sure nobody's mean to us again." Even the baby seems to get it, cooing softly like it's saying thanks. They all feel better, safer, because of Margaret. She didn't just fix things for herself, she fixed things for everyone. Back at the airline, things are changing fast. The crew from Flight 247, the co-pilot, the other flight attendants, they're telling everyone what happened. "She was so calm," the co-pilot says, still wiping sweat from his forehead. "But when she said she was the chairwoman, I almost fell over." They're learning the new rules now: be nice, be fair, treat people right. Margaret's watching over it all, making sure it sticks. She's not loud about it, not flashy. She's just doing her job, quiet and strong, like always. Sarah? Nobody knows where she is now. Maybe she's at home, hiding under her blanket, wishing she'd been nicer. Maybe she's looking for a new job, one where she can't boss people around. But one thing's for sure, she's not flying with Sky High anymore. She's gone, and the passengers are glad. She deserved it, they say, nodding to each other. You can't be mean like that and get away with it. The airport's busy again, planes taking off and landing, people rushing around. But Flight 247 is special now, a story people will talk about for a long time. Margaret's name is whispered like a legend. That's the lady who took charge, they say. That's the boss who showed us all. She's not just a nobody anymore, she's a hero, a quiet hero who stood up when it mattered. And that's how it ends. The plane lands, justice is served, and Margaret wins. The passengers cheer, Sarah's out, and everything's better. Margaret sits back, calm and happy, knowing she made a difference. The airline's stronger, the people are safer, and nobody's getting slapped on her watch. It's a happy ending, a fair ending, and one you'll remember every time you see a plane in the sky. So, here's the thing, Margaret's story is over, but it's not really over, you know? It's the kind of story that sticks with you, like when you hear a really good song and keep humming it all day. What happened on that plane, Flight 247, wasn't just about a mean flight attendant getting in trouble or an old lady turning out to be the boss. Nope, it's bigger than that. It's about people, about how we treat each other, and about the surprises hiding inside everyone. Let's talk about it, step by step, because there's a lot to think about here. First off, think about this, you never know who's sitting next to you. Never, ever. On that plane, nobody had a clue who Margaret really was. She was just a little old lady with silver hair and shaky hands, right? People saw her slow steps, her tiny purse, her quiet way of sitting by the window, and they thought, oh, she's nobody special. Sarah, that loud flight attendant, thought so too. She looked at Margaret and saw someone weak, someone she could boss around, someone who didn't matter. But boy, was she wrong. Margaret wasn't just some passenger, she was the chairwoman of Sky High Airlines, the big boss of the whole company. Nobody saw that coming, not in a million years. That's the fun part, isn't it? People can surprise you. You might be sitting next to someone on the bus, or standing in line at lunch, or playing at recess, and you don't know their story. Maybe they're super smart, or really strong, or secretly amazing at something cool like drawing comics or building robots. Maybe they've got a big secret, just like Margaret did. You can't tell by looking at them. That guy with the messy hair might be a math genius. That quiet girl in the corner might be a soccer star. You just don't know until they show you. And Margaret? She showed everyone in the biggest, coolest way possible. Here's another thing to chew on, Margaret didn't need to shout or fight to win. Think about that for a second. Sarah was loud, super loud. She was yelling at people, snapping her fingers, stomping around like she owned the plane. She thought being loud and mean made her strong. But Margaret? She was quiet. She didn't yell back when Sarah slapped her hand. She didn't argue or make a big fuss. She just sat there, watching, waiting, like a cat waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. And when that moment came, bam, she stood up, said who she was, and took charge. No shouting, no fighting, just calm, steady power. That's pretty awesome, right? It's like Margaret had a secret weapon, and that weapon was patience. She didn't let Sarah's meanness get to her. She didn't lose her cool or start a big argument. She waited until the time was right, until halfway through the flight, and then she dropped the big surprise. "I'm the chairwoman," she said, and everything changed. Sarah's smirk fell off her face, the passengers cheered, and the plane turned around. All because Margaret stayed calm and picked the perfect moment. She didn't need to be loud to be strong, she just needed to be smart. Maybe we could all learn a little from her. Seriously. Think about your own life for a minute. Have you ever had someone be mean to you? Maybe a kid at school who makes fun of your shoes, or a friend who says something rude. It happens to everyone sometimes. When that happens, what do? Do you yell back? Do you get mad and stomp away? Or do you stay quiet, like Margaret, and wait for a chance to show them you're bigger than they think? It's hard to stay calm when someone's being a jerk, but Margaret makes it look like a superpower. She didn't let Sarah push her around, she turned it all around instead. Here's a cool idea, next time someone looks down on you, just smile. Yep, just smile. Imagine you're at recess, and some kid says, "You can't play with us, you're not good enough." It stinks, right? You might want to yell or run off. But what if you smiled instead? Not a big, fake grin, but a little one, like you know something they don't. Like Margaret's smile when she stood up to Sarah. That smile says, "You don't know me. You don't know what I can do." They might not see it coming, but you've got your own strength waiting to shine just like Margaret did. Because here's the truth, everyone's got strength inside them. Everyone. You might not be the boss of an airline like Margaret, but you've got something special. Maybe you're really good at helping your friends when they're sad. Maybe you can run super fast or tell the funniest jokes. Maybe you're brave in ways nobody sees yet. That strength is there, hiding, waiting for the right moment to come out. And when it does, watch out, world. It's like Margaret standing up on that plane, sudden, strong, and totally awesome. Let's think about Sarah for a second. She didn't see Margaret's strength coming, did she? She thought she was the big shot, the queen of the plane, bossing everyone around. She looked at Margaret and saw an old lady, slow, weak, easy to pick on. But she was so wrong. That's what happens when you judge people by how they look. Sarah didn't think Margaret could do anything, and it cost her big time. She got marched off the plane, fired the next day, and now she's probably wishing she'd been nicer. If she'd treated Margaret with respect, none of this would have happened. She'd still have her job, still be flying, still be strutting around. But nope, she judged, she was mean, and she lost. That's a lesson too, isn't it? Don't judge people by what you see on the outside. You don't know their story. That kid who's quiet in class. Maybe they're super smart. That person who's slow at running? Maybe they're amazing at singing. You can't tell until you give them a chance. Margaret looked like a nobody to Sarah, but she was the biggest somebody on that plane. If Sarah had been kind, if she'd helped Margaret instead of slapping her hand, things would have gone so different. Kindness matters. It's like a magic key that opens doors instead of slamming them shut. Now, let's imagine you're on that plane. Picture it, you're sitting a few rows up, munching on some pretzels, watching Sarah be mean. You see her yell at the mom with the baby, snap at the guy in the suit, and then slap Margaret's hand. You're mad, right? You're thinking, that's not fair. But then Margaret stands up, says she's the chairwoman, and takes charge. How do you feel then? Excited? Happy? Maybe a little shocked? You're cheering with everyone else, clapping for this tiny old lady who turned out to be a hero. It's like a movie, but it's real, and you're part of it. What would you do if you were Margaret? That's a fun question to think about. Could you stay calm like she did? Could you sit there, quiet and patient, even when someone's being mean to you? Or would you snap back right away, like, hey, stop that? It's okay either way, everyone's different. Some people are loud and fight back fast, like a lion roaring. Others are quiet and wait, like Margaret, planning their move. What's your style? Are you a roarer or a waiter? There's no wrong answer, it's just cool to think about how you'd handle it. Me, I think I'd try to be like Margaret. Staying calm sounds hard, but it worked for her. She didn't let Sarah get under her skin. She didn't waste her energy arguing. She saved it all up for the big moment, and when she used it, wow! It was like a superhero landing a perfect punch. I'd love to have that kind of patience, that kind of strength. What about you? Could you hold back, or would you jump in right away? Tell me what you think. I bet you've got some great ideas. This story's got my heart racing, and I hope it got yours going too. It's wild, right? A little old lady taking down a mean flight attendant, turning a boring flight into something amazing. It's the kind of tale you want to tell your friends, your family, even your teacher. You won't believe what happened, you'd say, waving your hands, making them guess what's next. It's fun to share, fun to talk about, because it's not just a story, it's a lesson wrapped up in a big adventure. So, if you liked this story, if it made you cheer or gasp or smile, give it a thumbs up. Let me know it got you excited. And tell a friend about it. Say, hey, you've got to hear this. It's about an old lady who's secretly the boss. Spread it around, because stories like this are better when everyone's in on it. I'd love to hear what you think too. Drop a comment below. Could you stay calm like Margaret, or would you snap back at Sarah? What's your favorite part? Let's talk about it. Oh, and guess what? This isn't the end, not really. There's more stories out there, more adventures waiting. I'll see you in the next one, okay? Maybe it'll be about a kid who turns out to be a secret spy, or a dog that saves the day. Who knows? But it'll be fun, I promise. So stick around, keep your eyes open, and get ready for more. You never know what's coming next, just like Margaret's big surprise. Let's keep going with this a little more, because there's so much to unpack. Think about the passengers on that plane. They were just regular people, moms, dads, kids, workers heading somewhere, minding their own business. They didn't expect a hero to pop up in seat 23B. But Margaret changed their day, maybe even their whole trip. They went home with a story they'll tell forever. I was there when the chairwoman took charge, they'll say, grinning like they won a prize. It's like they got a front row seat to something epic, all because they were on that flight. And Sarah? Poor Sarah. She messed up big time, didn't she? She thought she was the queen, but she ended up the loser. It's kind of sad, in a way. If she'd been nice, if she'd helped Margaret with her bag instead of slapping her, she might still have her job. She might have even gotten a pat on the back from the chairwoman herself. But she chose mean over kind, loud over quiet, and it backfired. That's something to think about too, how you act can change everything. One little choice, like being rude or being nice, can flip your whole day upside down. Margaret's the real star, though. She's 90 years old, 90, and she's still strong, still smart, still ready to fix things. That's inspiring, right? It's like a reminder that you don't have to be young or loud or big to make a difference. You can be small, you can be quiet, you can be old, and still have power. Margaret didn't need muscles or a megaphone, she had her brain, her patience, and her secret. And that was enough to turn the plane around, kick Sarah out, and make everyone cheer. Let's imagine one more thing. Picture you're Margaret, but not on a plane, maybe at school. Someone's being mean, like Sarah, bossing you around in the lunch line or laughing at your drawing. You could yell back, sure. You could tell the teacher or stomp off. But what if you waited, like Margaret? What if you smiled, kept your cool, and found a smart way to show them up? Maybe you draw an even better picture, or help someone else in line, or just walk away with your head high. You've got that strength inside you, waiting to shine, just like she did. That's the big takeaway, I think. We've all got power, our own kind of power. It's not always loud or flashy. Sometimes it's quiet, sneaky, patient, like Margaret's. And when you use it, when you let it out at the right time, it can do amazing things. It can shut down a bully, help a friend, or just make your day better. You don't need to be the chairwoman of an airline to be strong, you just need to be you. So, what do you say? Let's try it? Next time you're in a tough spot, think of Margaret. Think of her standing up, slow and steady, saying, I'm the chairwoman. Think of her smile, her calm, her power. Then find your own way to shine. Maybe you'll surprise someone, just like she did. Maybe you'll surprise yourself. I bet you can. I bet you've got a little Margaret in you, waiting to come out. Okay, one last time, could you stay calm like Margaret, or would you snap back right away? Tell me below, I really want to know. And if this story got your heart racing, give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend. Let's keep the fun going. See you in the next one, where something new and wild is waiting. You're awesome, and I can't wait to hang out with you again.